feedback to you. I'm using this term that I will start to use, right? And it's called line of reasoning. So when we see this right here, and this is one of your handouts, or sometimes you'll see LOR, and so not LOL, but LOR. And LOR means line of reasoning. A big part of your score on the exam for each essay is how well you focus your essay, like how tight it is based on the universal ideas in the thesis. Those trickle down to your claims. That trickles in throughout your body paragraphs. That's called a line of reasoning. So essentially, I'm going to draw here. We have our universal idea or universal ideas in thesis. This trickles down to the claim 1, claim 2, claim 3, and body 1, body 2, body 3. That means that you need to have synonyms like words, analogous words, words that are analogous to. Does anyone pick up on that word that I'm using? Words that are analogous. What am I saying? Words that are analogous to the universal ideas in your thesis. Yep, it's that are comparative. Yep, the same thing, stemming from. That doesn't mean that your actual universal idea is repeated throughout. Okay, sorry about that. It means that you're using words analogous to the universal ideas in your speech. Okay. Not only does it provide consistency in your writing, so I need all Chromebooks away for right now, please. It focuses your writing. So this structure right here is any paper that any essay you're going to write in college. This is it, right? This is what I used for a 20-page paper. I just repeated it, right, over and over again. All right. So it's universal ideas in your thesis. They trickle down to claim 1, claim 2, claim 3. And then within each paragraph, body 1, body 2, body 3, you have your universal ideas. Now, John asked me a great question. Are the universal ideas in each claim, right, at the top of each paragraph, are those universal ideas the exact same as this one? And they're not. Again, they're analogous to the main universal idea. You have your main universal idea, and then you have your 3 baby universal ideas that stem down to each claim. Remember, the claim is the first sentence, like a topic sentence in the paragraph. You've got to have at least one universal idea, abstract noun, in the thesis, and 1 plus 1. You're doing 1 RD, 1 rhetorical device, plus 1 claim in each, 1 rhetorical device, 1 universal idea in each claim. So think 1 plus 1. Some people are submitting work without claims. And it's almost like I can't grade it appropriately because I can't look for the organization based on ideas. Okay? All right, questions on the claims in particular. So the universal ideas used in the claims are analogous to the universal idea, or similar to the universal idea in the thesis. And they're paired 1 plus 1 each with a rhetorical device, right? So you have rhetorical device 1, rhetorical device 2, rhetorical device 3, each paired with a separate baby universal idea going back to the first meaning. Okay. So in the essay that we're about to read, that I want to give you time to look at, the line of reasoning obviously begins in the thesis with a universal idea, and it's carried through. It's talked about not only with an analogous universal idea in the claim, but synonyms throughout, referencing, okay, that universal idea in the claim and in the thesis. So what I do when I'm reading your essays and grading them, by the time I get to that third column, the last column of each claim, right, on the chart, which would be the last chunk of your paragraph, by the time I get there, the so what paragraph, I look back, I physically scroll up to your claim for that paragraph, and I scroll up to the thesis. And if I don't see you wrapping it up based on the ideas in the claim and what you say and the idea or what you say in the thesis, then I can't give you full credit on that. So you gotta think at the end, have I looked back up to my claim? Have I looked back up to my thesis? What I would like to do is pause, right? I want you to read this alone, independently, silently. I want you to circle the universal ideas that you see in the thesis, right? Perhaps more than one. And I want you to circle those same analogous universal ideas in each of the three claims, okay? And I'm going to show you how it should look as we're working through. I'm going to start working with strong student writing from this class to teach you specific skills that we need to see when we're writing, not just for a rhetorical analysis essay, for all of our essays, like for the rest of our life. So let's just do this. What's the main universal idea in the thesis? Greta Thunberg connects with the audience through irony, litotes, and parallelism to argue that action must be taken and a devoted effort must be put in to see a change in climate change. Now there's some revision that we can do, but where are the universal ideas? I see.
Really?
Just in the thesis.
Oh.
So abstract nouns, things we cannot see but that exist. Things.
Action, effort.
So action, effort, change or climate. Yeah. So action, effort, change. Right? We should go and make sure that those words are talked about. Now, feedback for this writer. What do you have for feedback for this writer's thesis? John, what are you thinking? Or who said something? Jonathan, John? It's nice writing. Yeah, it flows. So, are there three rhetorical devices?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. Where do we expect irony to fall? Paragraph 1, paragraph 2, paragraph 3. Paragraph 1 should be here. And then litotes 2 and parallelism 3. Talk to me about the universal ideas, though, in this thesis. What did you say? Yeah, but I mean, action, effort, change. Any response back to that writer, things that you might do differently? Are those ideas that are obvious in Greta Thunberg's speech? Action, effort, and change? Yes. Yes. Are they wrong? No. They're fine. They're fine. If this person wants to really make sure that they capture the reader and that they're making sure that those ideas are interesting enough, the better the universal idea in the thesis, the more interesting your analysis will be. The deeper you can go in analysis. So I might change effort, action, and change. I might come up with something bigger, right? That then that writer can use to dig into. Can anyone think of something that maybe, again, we can't argue with the writer on this. That's true. That's absolutely true. Did anybody come up with a different universal idea in their writing? Anyone help me out with a different universal idea? No? Okay. Universal ideas. Nope. No one else had a different one? I'm going to move on, but I would like for someone to look back to their own writing. I know I graded 10 of these, and I want you to tell me what you put in for a universal idea, or I want you to tell me what this writer could have done differently to level up the universal ideas, which would give that writer more bang for her buck. It's not wrong, right? I'm just giving her feedback. All right, let's read the topic sentence. Who would like to read the claim or topic sentence for paragraph 1 for irony? Thank you, Daryl.
Greta Thunberg connects with the audience through irony, lightotes, and parallelism to argue that action must be taken and devoted effort must be put to see a change in climate change.
Great, and that is her thesis. Can you read the claim for claim one?
Oh,
Which is,
I'm sorry.
that's okay.
Thunberg acknowledges the failure and emptiness of the government's promises by using irony.
Okay. What's the universal idea? Where are they here? How many do you see?
Failure.
Yep, failure and emptiness. Ah, what's new and different that we didn't have in the thesis? That is unique to this writer's mind.
Showing about failure,
And
emptiness.
emptiness. There, she might want to consider putting something original like that up in the thesis. That's a claim, right? I can argue, right, that emptiness does not exist from irony, okay? What I like though about emptiness and irony is that think about what irony does. It points to what? It shows what? What do I do? It shows
Timeline?
what is the definition of irony? I was trying to act it out. Jonathan and I, right, are different, right? Yeah, we want to make a point with both of us, right? I'm showing the difference between two things, but I'm showing the difference between what is said and what is meant. You know what, and Jonathan asked about juxtaposition. There could possibly, in fact, yes, it could be both. Juxtaposition and ironic, absolutely. Perfect. This writer, though, by saying emptiness and irony, I see a connection because of what I know about irony. There is a space, and she could draw that out even more. Okay, so what you need to do then is you need to find references to failure and emptiness here, and back them up here. Like she needs to tell us at the end of this paragraph how emptiness and how failure relate back to action, effort, and change. So whether it be the last sentence of her paragraph, please go back up. How do these universal ideas in the claim, how do they translate back up to here, back up to those universal ideas, okay? So right now take a moment, draw lines to where you see anything representing synonyms or likeness to failure, emptiness, informing action, effort, and change. Take a moment. So everybody should be working on this right now, not on your essays, okay? I'm just going to go through the different color, and I'm going to start circling other universal ideas. I noticed that effort is right here, and she adds the word worthless. I see this go to the quote directly, so there's a connection to quote. So Sebastian just asked, like, these words right here, I put them in a different color. I don't know yet if there's a connection between failure, suspense, and tension, or an emptiness in response to suspense and tension. The writer might say that later. I'm just noting some more universal ideas. These are interesting. This is analysis. By saying to me that Thunberg is creating suspense and tension, back up to irony, right? She's telling me that that's kind of what irony is doing.
Suspense and anticipation.
Yeah, where's anticipation?
It's in like the second part. establishes a fight bond, the audience and keeps them in suspension and anticipation.
Oh yeah, nice. Okay, so we see suspense again here, anticipation here, right? Which relates down here. And then she quotes this empty words. Is this Thunberg's quote?
I think
So that's what she said.
See the lines that we're drawing? And then I see action here, but what is she doing? She's disparaging. She's disparaging. And then so to me, that goes up to effort, it also goes back up to action. So to disparage your efforts, to disparage the actions, right?
So she using words to make connection between like the main ideas and
Yes,
the
yes.
words that she used?
yes. So do you see how even her quotes match the universal ideas in the thesis? I would say that this writer has an opportunity to explain the connections that we're seeing. Right? Like especially, this is such a great verb. I'm pleading with you. Please look at your vivid verbs, your powerful verbs in your notebook or at the link that I put in on the chart. We understand that the writer understands when we use a word like disparages. Is it disparages positive or negative in connotation?
Negative.
Negative. And how do you know that?
Because of this.
DIS, right?
Yes, this.
So, does that go with Thunberg's tone?
Yeah.
Yes. So the writer, by using a vivid verb that has a connotation, right? The writer is also telling us that she understands Thunberg's tone. So that's very, very powerful. I also see weak motive. That's really interesting to me. That's an idea that I wouldn't have thought of. So it's this universal idea, right? To have this weak motive. You can't. What's motive? When you want to do something, right? She could have said the author demonstrates that they don't want to do it because they're not. She could have said something else, but she gives us this really interesting image. And then that again goes back up to effort. That again goes back up to action. So what she's saying, like I don't see a lot of lines toward change, but that's okay because she's saying that there isn't really this change happening. So she might want to make note of that at the very end. That weak motives, right? And worthless efforts, and then she'd have to do something, make sure that suspense and tension are also kind of dealt with. So this is what each paragraph should look like. I mean, are there areas she can improve upon? Yes. Does anyone have one piece of feedback for the writer? Anything? I like to tight bond, right? I would say, where do you see that she understands irony? Where do you see that this writer understands irony? We should see that multiple times. What's the definition of irony? The difference or the gap between two things. Between what? Two different things, but between what is said and what is meant. So do you see anywhere where she put something like that in her paragraph?
The second one, failures, grace, suspension, tension, in the on the spot, higher ranking, the government, wordless efforts.
Okay, I'm gonna put a hold on suspense and tension because yes, that's where she wants to go. Thank you, Sebastian. That's where the writer wants to go back to. That's a great, interesting observation of irony. So make sure, and I don't know, maybe the writer did this, I'd have to reread it again, but make sure that suspense and tension are talked about, are dealt with. That's an opportunity to explicitly connect it back to irony. Like, I get where she's going with that because I know what irony is, but guide the reader. What's obvious in your head is not obvious to the reader. It's your obligation to guide the reader with explicit, clear, right? Break down your ideas. That's interesting. How about this? What was said and what was actually meant. That tells me, right, that the writer understands irony. That, in fact, is the definition. I'm pushing you not to include the dictionary definition of irony, but she doesn't say the definition of irony is, right? She doesn't. She seamlessly integrates it into her statement about what Thunberg is doing. I would clarify this, and I would repeat back in some way what was said, even if it's just one or two words in quotes, and what was meant, just so that it's more specific back to the text. Okay. Anything else? I mean, just the fact of empty words repeated also lets us know that it's irony, but again, I would tell the writer, draw this out more explicitly, right? Break it down for us. Not like you're explaining it to a child, but just break it down so that we can understand your thinking. And then I do want to point out one thing that a lot of people are doing. In the yellow chart, right, which is, if you follow it, you'll have a perfect essay. There's the word achieves. How does the writer achieve something? People are misreading achieves for the archives, and so I just want you to make sure that you're putting in achieves right here. Achieves. So, the Thunberg accomplishes suspense, being ironic, yet revolted at the same time. Thunberg accomplishes suspense and reflection in the audience for their apathetic yet true and inevitable actions. Okay, it's clear in the writer's mind, all right? Yes, Thunberg accomplishes suspense and reflection. Does Thunberg push the audience to reflect by creating suspense? See how that's a little bit different? Put the writer first and make a simple subject plus verb and then grow it from there. So Thunberg prompts her audience to reflect through suspense, right? And so I would tell the writer, rework this, because I like that it's like ironic yet revolted. I like at the same time. I like suspense, I like reflection. And then, who's apathetic? This is a powerful word. Does anybody know apathetic? A is without. A is with. So I often tell, my sophomores sometimes that I see apathy, which is kind of like, whatever, I just don't care, I don't care, okay? So apathetic. So is she saying that the audience is apathetic? Because this pronoun is confusing. There could mean the audience, or there could mean the government, or what I'm thinking, like a lot of you have to consider, there are multiple levels of audiences. So clarify which audience. Is this the white men in the World Economic Forum? Is it that audience? Is it their apathy? Or is it our apathy? So just clarify your levels of audience. And then she uses yet twice in the same sentence, so I would have her break it down. But the yet indicates irony. It's this, yet it's this. Do you see what the writer's doing? Showing us that she knows what irony is by saying, it's this, however this, yet it's actually this, okay? All right, I might just say to this writer, go back up to the plane, make sure that you are closing it and referring back to the universal ideas in the thesis. That's where the writer probably wants to level up the words, the universal ideas in the thesis. Like emptiness was a great word for this paragraph on irony. Okay, I'm gonna stop here. We're gonna work through more of the speech tomorrow, and I will have you at the beginning of class tomorrow map out your own second paragraph based on what we did today. Line of reasoning, okay?
Yeah.
All right, so now, if you've written something, I want you to go back, and I want you to locate your universal ideas in your thesis, and the universal ideas in each claim. And I want you to make sure that you have analogous words to the claim and to the thesis, okay? What questions do we have before you do that? You'll have time to do that before we leave.
Wait, for this thing?